Chapter 1. Darkness. Over the Academy of Lunar Light. In the prestigious Academy of Lunar Light, where the kingdom's most talented mages are trained, something unimaginable has occurred. On the day when students and faculty gathered for the annual ritual to open the portal to the Vault of Knowledge, the artifact that had been stored there for centuries disappeared. This artifact was the key to the Academy's protection against the forces of darkness. The rector of the Academy, Magister Kaladin, announced that the investigation would be led by the top final-year student, Amelia Frost. Her brilliant mind, expertise in magical analysis, and rare gift of seeing magical traces make her the ideal candidate. However, she has only 7 days to recover the stolen artifact. Otherwise, the Academy will lose its magical barrier. Amelia plunges into a labyrinth of mysteries, where anyone, from her fellow students to the professors, could be a suspect. Why did the ritual fail? Who could have infiltrated the vault? And most importantly, what secrets is the rector himself hiding? Chapter 2. Secret Signs. Amelia sat in the spacious library of the Academy, surrounded by stacks of books and scrolls. The repository of knowledge was a unique place. It connected the Academy to ancient magical sources, and its loss could disrupt the balance of the magical world. The girl was leafing through the dusty pages of an ancient manuscript, trying to find at least a hint of how someone might have bypassed the protective spells. "You do realize everyone's watching you now, right?" said a familiar voice quietly. Amelia looked up. Standing before her was Eric, her classmate and partner in magical duels. His blue eyes sparkled mischievously, but his voice carried a note of seriousness. "Thanks for the reminder, Eric," she sighed. "But if you're here just to chat, you'd better help me search." He smirked and pulled one of the scrolls toward him. "I heard the headmaster said you have a theory. What is it, a conspiracy? Or maybe one of the professors decided to betray the Academy?" Amelia closed the book and looked at her friend. "I don't believe in coincidences. On the day the portals were supposed to open, someone managed to bypass all the repository's spells. That couldn't have been an accident. Someone here knows the structure of magical defenses far too well." Eric frowned. "You think it's someone on the inside?" Amelia nodded. "I don't have a choice. If I don't find the culprit, the headmaster will hand the case over to the Mage Council, and you know what that means." Eric fell silent. The Mage Council was known for its ruthlessness. Everyone was a suspect until proven otherwise. "All right," he said finally. "Then let's start with who had access to the repository." "I already did." Amelia spread a list out in front of him. "This is everyone who was in the building the night the artifact disappeared. Professors, students, even the staff. But there's something strange." "What is it?" "There's a name here that shouldn't be. Someone who officially has no right to be in the Academy." Eric leaned closer, reading the entry. "Leandra Vale? Who's that?" "That's what I'd like to know," Amelia replied, standing up. "We'll start with her." Chapter 3. The Night Visitor. Leandra Vale turned out to be a mysterious figure. None of the students knew her, and the professors either avoided the topic or claimed they had never heard the name. However, Amelia noticed that the mention of Leandra evoked a strange reaction in some, as if they were hiding something important. Late at night, Amelia and Eric ventured into the western wing of the Academy, where, according to rumors, an unknown figure had been seen. This part of the building had long been abandoned, but the magical energy there felt stronger than anywhere else. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Eric whispered, glancing at the peeling walls and crumbling arches. "If you want to turn back and leave me here alone, be my guest," Amelia replied, illuminating their path with a magical glow. They reached a massive wooden door covered in magical runes. The runes faintly shimmered in the darkness, as if warning of impending danger. "Interesting," Amelia murmured, touching the surface of the door. "This is a protective spell, but it's older than the Academy itself." "Which means someone is using ancient magic?" Eric asked. Amelia nodded. "And, most likely, that someone is Leandra Vale." She extended her hand, spoke an incantation, and the door quietly creaked open. Beyond it lay a small room illuminated by a dim magical glow. In the center stood an altar, adorned with crystals and ancient manuscripts. What is this place? Eric froze, glancing around. Amelia stepped closer to the altar and noticed a symbol engraved on it, one she had seen in a book before. This is the seal of the Dark League, she whispered. Leandra is connected to forbidden magic. At that moment, a rustling sound came from the room. Both of them turned sharply. Someone was watching them from the shadows. "Who's there?" Amelia shouted, holding up a magical amulet in front of her. A cloaked figure stepped forward. "You've gone too far," rasped a voice. Chapter 4. The Ghost of the Past. The cloaked figure raised a hand, and the space around them began to fill with a dense, magical fog. Amelia and Eric felt the air grow heavier as the magic responded to an unfamiliar will. "Who are you?" Amelia demanded, trying to keep her voice steady. "I am the one trying to save what you cannot even comprehend," replied a hoarse voice. "Leave while you still can." Amelia felt the fog creeping into her mind, conjuring faint images of the past. She thought she could hear voices, those of the rector, her classmates, her parents. They whispered something, but the words refused to form a coherent message. "Amelia!" Eric shouted, snapping her out of the trance. He cast a spell, releasing a burst of flame that dispersed the fog. "It's a trap. Get out of here." But Amelia had already noticed something crucial. The same symbol that had been on the altar now gleamed on the stranger's cloak. Raising her hand to create a barrier for protection, she shouted, "You stole the artifact! What are you planning to do to the academy?" The figure froze for a moment before speaking in a calm, almost icy tone. "You only see the tip of the iceberg. The artifact has been here for too long. It doesn't belong to your academy. It is more dangerous than you can imagine." Amelia didn't believe a single word. "That's a lie. You want to use it for your own purposes." The stranger only responded with a heavy sigh. Then, with a sharp motion of their hands, the altar began to glow with a bright light. "It's too late. It has already begun." A surge of magical energy threw Amelia and Eric backward. When they regained consciousness, the cloaked figure was gone, and the altar was empty. The symbol on its surface no longer shone, and the runes guarding the door had completely vanished. What was that?" Eric asked, breathing heavily as he got to his feet. Amelia struggled to stand, feeling a searing pain in her arm where the fog had left traces of magical energy. "It wasn't just a trap," she whispered. "They tried to scare us, but they didn't succeed." Eric approached the altar, examining the remnants of the crystals. "If the artifact was here, it's definitely gone now. But if they're right, if it really is dangerous—" Amelia cut him off. "Don't believe them. They're trying to distract us from what matters. Now we know that Leandra Vale is connected to the Dark League, and we have proof." She pointed to a charred piece of fabric lying near the altar. It was a fragment of the stranger's cloak, marked with the League's symbol. "We need to take this to the rector," Amelia said firmly. "But I have a feeling this is only the beginning. This isn't just a theft." "You think it's part of some bigger plan?" Eric asked, tucking the charred fragment into his bag. "I'm sure of it, and if we don't stop them, it could cost the academy everything." Chapter 5. The Council. Amelia and Eric returned to the main building of the academy late at night. Rector Kaladin was waiting for them in his office, a spacious room with high vaulted ceilings and shimmering magical lights floating near the ceiling, illuminating shelves lined with ancient books. "Well, what did you manage to find out?" The rector looked at Amelia over his glasses. Worry flickered in his eyes, though his voice remained firm. Amelia placed a charred piece of cloth bearing the symbol of the Dark League on the table. "This was found in the Western Wing, Master. We encountered someone who claimed the artifact was too dangerous for the academy. But I'm certain this person is connected to the League." The rector picked up the piece of cloth, examining it closely. His face remained impassive, but Amelia noticed his fingers tremble slightly. "The Dark League," he murmured. "I had hoped their time was over." "You knew about them?" Eric asked sharply. Kaladin raised his gaze. "It's a forbidden subject, but since you've encountered this, the Dark League is a secret organization that once sought to overthrow the magical order, using ancient artifacts to wreak destruction. They vanished centuries ago, but their symbols and methods still inspire fear. That person said the artifact was dangerous, Amelia noted. But why would they steal it then? Chapter 6. Hidden Motives. In the morning, the Council of Mages arrived at the Academy. Majestic figures in long robes adorned with golden and silver runes swept through the halls like storm clouds, carrying an aura of fear and tension. The head of the delegation was Magister Elira, a tall woman with an icy gaze and stern features. Her presence made even the bravest mages uneasy. "Rector Kaladin," she said in a cold voice, "you have concealed the truth for far too long. We are taking over the investigation now." Amelia stood to the side with Eric, watching their conversation unfold. "This is bad," Eric whispered. "If the council gets involved, they won't hesitate to destroy the portal, and the academy along with it." "I know," Amelia replied, her mind racing, "but we still have time. While they're caught up in their inspections, we'll find Leandra and the artifact." They returned to the library to continue their search. This time, Amelia focused on records about the League and ancient rituals. In one of the old tomes, she found a reference to a mysterious place beyond the academy, the abandoned tower, rumored to have once held the second key to the portal. "The abandoned tower," she murmured thoughtfully. Eric looked up from another scroll. "You think Leandra could be there?" "It makes sense," Amelia replied. "If they want to use the artifact, they'll need the second key. We have to go there before the council gets too far with their inspections." Eric smiled, though concern lingered in his eyes. "You always manage to find trouble, Amelia," she smirked, "and you always agree to join me." The path to the abandoned tower led through a dense enchanted forest, where the trees whispered in an unknown language and shadows seemed alive. But ahead of them lay not only magic, but also unforeseen dangers. Chapter 7. The Seal of Light and Darkness. The abandoned tower loomed over the forest like a massive black spike driven into the ground. Its walls were etched with ancient runes, cracked and weathered with time, yet the magical energy surrounding it was still palpable. Amelia and Eric stood at the entrance, staring at the heavy door that emanated a foreboding glow. "Are you sure this is the place?" Eric asked, adjusting the magic-enhanced dagger at his belt. Amelia nodded, her heartbeat quickening. "It's here. I can feel it. The artifact is inside. And so is Leandra." They pushed the door open to reveal a vast hall. At its center stood an altar surrounded by glowing magical circles. Hovering above it was the artifact, a crystal radiating light that was both alluring and terrifying. Beside it stood Leandra, cloaked in shadows, her eyes glowing with a crimson hue. "You're late," she said without turning around. "What are you doing, Leandra?" Amelia shouted. "That artifact protects our world. If you open the portal, you'll destroy everything." Leandra turned to face them, a grim smile on her lips. "You don't understand," she said. "The artifact wasn't made to protect. It was created to contain a power humanity should never wield. The portal isn't a threat. It's a path to purification." Amelia stepped forward, raising her hand with a magical amulet. "You're playing with forces that will destroy you. I won't let you finish this ritual." Leandra waved her hand, and a magical shockwave knocked Amelia and Eric off their feet. The hall filled with the sound of ancient incantations as the artifact began to pulse with blinding light. From the portal that started to form in midair, an icy wind howled, carrying a sinister growl. "Eric," Amelia whispered as she struggled to her feet, "we have to stop her now." Eric nodded, activating a protective spell. "I have an idea. You distract her and I'll try to break the magical circle." Amelia charged forward, creating dazzling flashes of light to divert Leandra's attention. Leandra countered every attack with precision, but it was enough for Eric to begin dismantling the circle holding the artifact. "You think you can defeat me?" Leandra laughed darkly. "The ritual is already halfway complete." But Amelia sensed that their efforts were making progress. She recalled the words she had read in an old tome. Light and darkness must always remain in balance. She paused for a moment, closed her eyes, and focused, feeling the magic surrounding her. The artifact pulsed with both dark and light energy. Amelia realized that the only way to stop the portal was to unite the opposing forces. "Eric!" she called out. "I need your help!" Eric glanced at her and quickly understood her plan. He moved closer, and together they began weaving a spell. Leandra, noticing their intent, rushed toward them, but a burst of light from the artifact stopped her in her tracks. "No!" she screamed, trying to regain control of the ritual. Amelia and Eric joined hands, combining their magical energies. A brilliant light filled the hall, breaking the magical circles and severing the artifact's connection to the portal. In that moment, Amelia felt the forces of darkness trying to invade her mind, but she held her ground, focusing on the light. With a deafening crack, the portal collapsed, and the artifact fell to the ground, its glow extinguished. Leandra, overwhelmed by the opposing magic, vanished in a whirlwind of shadows, leaving behind only a faint whisper. We did it," Eric said, sinking to his knees. Amelia picked up the artifact and felt that its power was gone. "It's just a stone now," she said. They left the tower, the cool night air bringing a sense of relief. Epilogue. Back at the academy, Amelia and Eric recounted the events to Rector Kaladin. The Council of Mages departed, satisfied that the portal no longer posed a threat. "You accomplished the impossible, Amelia," Kaladin said, pride in his voice. "You saved the academy." "Not alone," she replied with a smile, glancing at Eric. But deep inside, Amelia knew this was only the first battle. Leandra had vanished, but her warnings still echoed in Amelia's mind. What if they truly were guarding something that should never have existed? That question would stay with her forever. But for now, she knew one thing. Magic, light, and friendship could overcome even the darkest shadows. The end.